So I'm going from the neighborhood I grew up in. I started ninth grade in the Detroit public school systems. I'm 14. I'm in a new environment. I'm not going to church every day. And when I did go to Sunday Mass with the family at a new church, I was a mere spectator. I think this was about the time that I started my way away from the church. So I was no longer a professional altar boy, and I was no longer a professional musician. And I realized I really couldn't speak Latin. So I was becoming less and less Catholic. So why did I really leave the Catholic Church? It's too long a story, but I want you to know that I do believe in a superior being. I do not know what that God's intentions for us are. It's not so much that I doubt, it's that I just don't know. And I'm fine with not knowing. I like a good mystery. Since I don't know, I can't subscribe to any set belief system. One thing I am positive about, there is no one person on this planet that can convince me that they have the right answers to the cosmic questions that many of us have. And I'm okay with this not knowing. But I also know that many of my questions may be answered when I'm looking at things from a different plane. That means when I'm dead. And I'm okay with this too, because I also believe that in that different plane, when my questions are answered, I'm thinking there are going to be a whole set of new questions for me. And I like that idea quite a bit. Now I'm in high school. I found the drama club. I liked it there. Cooley High's beautiful auditorium and stage became my new church. I felt special there. It got me through high school. I was a professional actor. After high school, I left home to go spend 3 months in Florida learning to fly airplanes. Now, I'm not going to church at all now, and just don't tell my mom that. I didn't miss church either, and that kind of bothered me. So I ran out of money, come back home for a summer job before leaving to go to Western Michigan University. And so while at home, going to Sunday Mass with Mom and Dad was very conflicting for me. I took communion for my mom's sake, but I did not feel good about it. I was living a lie. So off to Western I go. I'm still flying, and I'm still not going to church. And I was okay with it until I got home, visiting at home and perpetuating the fraud. While at Western, out of curiosity, some friends and I, we visited a church service where the congregation speaks in tongues. Now, I don't know what was happening, but they seemed to be speaking the same gibberish at the same time in unison. I started to cry like a baby, and I don't cry easily. At movies I do, but I did cry. I think I felt bad because these people seemed to have something that I didn't have, faith. It's either that or I could have just been overcome by guilt, which is something that I do a lot of. I become overcome with guilt. But I made it through Western unchurched okay. I met my future wife, Ann, shortly after we both graduated from Western. Ann grew up in a Presbyterian family in the town of Plainwell, just north of Kalamazoo. By the way, my wife's maiden name is Gilmore, which in Kalamazoo is like Van Andel and DeVos up here. I thought I hit the jackpot. No relation. Gee. Ann and I were married in her church in Plainwell, and luckily for me, my brother had paved the way earlier by marrying outside of the Catholic Church. So my mom had already begun to learn hard lessons about life away from Malta. Of course, I did carry a little guilt there too. It's only natural for me to be guilty about things. So we lived unchurched, Ann and I did, until we bought a house in Plainwell. Now, Ann and I share a similar view of the universe, and we always knew that we wanted our children, if we had them, to have a traditional religious experience, baptism, Sunday school. So we attended the church we were married in. Along came our daughter, and 16 months later, our son joined us. They were both baptized in the Presbyterian church. More lessons for my mom. Now the kids are in Sunday nursery. Ann and I attend church functions. I'm singing in the choir. Weird thing is, Ann was a member of the church. I wasn't. I look back on that, I shake my head. I can kick myself. But, here at Fountain Street, we are a place of worship for all people. It's not unusual for someone to be active in the church and not sign the book. In a more traditional church, I feel terrible about that, really looking back at it. After a few years, we all moved up here to Grand Rapids following our jobs. The kids were toddlers. We wanted to continue with their religious experiences. So we joined a Presbyterian church in this area. And when I say that we joined, yeah, I joined too. I joined the Presbyterian church. It did not last long. I struggled trying to be Presbyterian. I couldn't plug myself into the church. I couldn't subscribe. For the same reason I struggled in the Catholic Church, I never took root in the Presbyterian Church. There's nothing wrong with the Presbyterian Church. This is just me. Now, I hung on for a few years at the church for the kids' sake, I think. And then we became unchurched again. And we stayed that way throughout the balance of the kids' school years. Kids went off to college, and Ann and I sold our house and bought a condo. Full circle. Now, Ann and I stayed unchurched for some years, and I grew increasingly uneasy about that. Guilty may be a better word. How's the time? I have 2 hours, right? No. I wondered how I could somehow incorporate a part of my Catholic past into my current life. I never wanted to jump back 100% into the church, but I was hoping for some type of halfway arrangement. Okay, how can I be a little bit Catholic? Not eat meat on Fridays? Start praying again? I actually tried both, but found no meaning in either. I wanted to be religious, but not too religious. I think that's called being spiritual. I wanted a place where I could, if not pray, meditate. I wanted to hear and sing the music. I wanted to hear words of wisdom and inspiration from the pulpit, like you're hearing now. I wanted to celebrate Christmas and Easter in a place of worship that I could call my own. But I couldn't call it my own unless I could believe and agree in the messages of the church. I wanted to share my views and be accepted despite them. And I wanted to hear others express their views freely. Thank God for Fountain Street Church. I needed this place that would allow me to be my brand of Christian. At Fountain Street, I started to shed myself of the burden of trying to be a little bit Catholic. So about 4 years ago, our former assistant pastor, Matthew Cochran, he led a discussion group that was called Dealing with Your Religious Past. I had to check this out, so I committed to attend the 3 one-hour sessions. And I'm not one to be easily affected by self-help type programs, but I committed to attending those sessions, and I had no expectations. I was just very curious. Well, I can truthfully say that I had an epiphany during the first session. through the process of talking about my experiences and hearing the experiences of others, good and bad, I came to realize that I don't need to try to be a little bit Catholic. Remember my library? These books are very important to me. I wish I could show them. Occasionally, I'll pull a book off the shelf and experience it again. Then the book goes back on the shelf for a while. Even when the book is on the shelf, it is no less important to me. It has value to me even when I'm not experiencing the book. These books will always be on my shelf. That book that I wouldn't give $1 million for, even on the shelf, I draw emotional strength from it. I'm fulfilled by it. And at some point, I will select the book off the shelf and remember it and the words that my daughter wrote to me. My religious past is a book of my life. It's available for me to remember and be comforted by. I just need to have that book in my possession in order to deal with my religious past. I only need to acknowledge and remember my past as a thing of value and emotional strength. Now, Fountain Street Church, it's a book of my religious now. I'm reading it now. There's much to learn from this book because it is a book of exploration and a how-to-be-human publication. I have a lot to learn and a lot to grow, and this may be my last religious book, and I hope to be reading it for a long time yet. I'll end with a confession. When I'm facing a situation that could end very badly or very well, it's a critical situation, when no one's looking, seriously, make the sign of the cross. So that's still there.